Welcome, ladies and gents. This is interesting. So the Lord of the Rings of Power showrunners have now admitted that they don't have the rights to the Silmarillion or Unfinished Tales. Now, I was sort of aware that this was the case, but there definitely has been chatter to the effect of we're adapting this, or we have the rights to this or that, etc. So this is kind of interesting, I guess, because there was definitely a bravado that they sort of projected onto the situation, which made people think it was going to be the Silmarillion, or some form of Unfinished Tales. I mean, even the interview where they quite literally say, "Can we make something? Can we finish the book, or can we write something? The book between that Tolkien couldn't write." And there's even talk of unfinished bits and pieces. Oh, we're going to take this, this, and this. So it's a bit odd. But let's dive into it. Let's have a look, shall we? So, the Lord of the Rings of Power showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay admitted their show does not have a number of rights that depict events from the Second Age, so very specific, of Lord of the Rings world. Now, speaking with Vanity Fair, Payne revealed they only have the rights to the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, the Return of the King, and the Appendices and the Hobbit. Right. Weird. Very strange that that's the only rights that they have. Because I was aware that they couldn't... It's such a very strange turn of events. So he stated, we have the rights solely to the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, the Return of the King, the Appendices and the Hobbit, and that is it. We do not have the rights to the Silmarillion, Unfinished Tales, the history of Middle-earth, even though they're diving into that. But I guess the way they're getting around it is by making it substantially different. Which, again, makes a lot of sense as to why it is so different. There's that whole, well, you've got to make it 25% different. Or any of those other books. Now, this article states, one wonders why in the world someone would endeavour to bring to live action the Second Age when you don't have the rights to the key materials that document the Second Age. Yeah, precisely. Right, but McKay... his response is the biggest drivel I've seen. There's a version of everything we need for the Second Age in the books we have the rights to. Just note that wording. There's a version of everything we need for the Second Age in the books we have the rights to. So, yeah, that is exactly the reason why there's lots of differences. Because there's a version of it. Oh, you want, female dwarfs? Well, we'll just remove their beards. Oh, you want to see, young Elrond? Well, he's not going to be the Elrond you know. Because we've got to make him different to the books we don't have the rights to. Remember? It's all about the rights. And if that's the case, why did you even make him in the first place? Why? And why did you give it the big I am by saying, we think we could... Basically, they said that we think that they could make the book that Tolkien couldn't make. Yeah, all right. You're high or something. And he continues further. He says, as long as we're painting within those lines and not egregiously contradicting something we don't have the rights to, there's a lot of leeway and room to dramatise and tell some of the best stories that Tolkien ever came up with. What? Sorry, I'm gonna need a repeat on that. As long as we're painting within those lines and not egregiously contradicting something we don't have the rights to. But you are. There's a lot of leeway. I mean, those are contradictory terms. As long as we're not egregiously contradicting something, we have a lot of leeway. You don't know. You don't have a lot of leeway. Because contradicting something on an egregious fashion is purely subjective. And you've been lambasted by the fans, so at that point you failed, haven't you? Let's be honest. Just very strange. So despite the show not arriving on Prime Video until September, the show's first trailer and the initial images first published by Vanity Fair reveals they have already egregiously contradicted those books. I agree. They turned Galadriel into a commander of the Northern Armies. A Northern Army was created by King Ondohir and led by him when he defended Gondor from an invasion by the Wain Riders of Rovanion. Onderher's creation of this northern army and its use in defending against the Wain Riders was detailed in Unfinished Tales. Not Galadriel. Galadriel was not a commander, although she did look upon the dwarfs also with the eye of a commander, seeing in them the finest warriors to pit against the orcs. Direct quote. That's what Tolkien noted in the Unfinished Tales. There's a difference between being a commander and looking upon someone with the eye of a commander, i.e., I can look at this in a critical fashion, that of which a commander would do. However, before he wrote that, he also wrote Galadriel was more far-sighted in this than Celeborn, and she perceived from the beginning that Middle-earth could not be saved from the residue of evil that Morgoth had left behind him, save by a union of all the peoples who were in their way and in their measure opposed to him. So she wasn't leading forces into battle, as of course the trailer showed. That is a direct contradiction of core elements of her story and her history, and also just her general personality. You know, someone can look at people with the eye of a commander and not wish to be a commander. Very strange. One would think if she previously did, she would have done so in The Lord of the Rings as well. Instead, she plays a very different role as a guide and ally as the Queen of the Elven Realm of Lorien. Yeah, precisely. So the show also introduces us to a dwarf princess named Disa in Appendix A. Tolkien wrote Dis was the daughter of Thrain II. She is also the only dwarf woman named in these histories. It was said by Gimli that there are few dwarf women, probably no more than a third of the whole people. They seldom walk abroad, except at great need. They are in voice and appearance, and in garb, if they must go on a journey, so like to the dwarf men, that the eyes and ears of other peoples cannot tell them apart. This has given rise to the foolish opinion among men that there are no dwarf women, and that the dwarves grow out of stone. Basically, they look the bloody same. I mean, this is just fat. I mean, sure, most dwarfs look fat, but where's the beard? Clothes are completely different. Anyway, nevertheless, Payne and McKay once again showed their hubris and pride that they could do Tolkien's story better than Tolkien. And this is what I said before. This is a direct quote from McKay. Can't we come up with a novel Tolkien never wrote and do it as the mega event series that could only happen now? No, mate. In the new Vanity Fair article, Payne adds, we took all these little clues and thought of them as stars in the sky that we then connected to write the novel that Tolkien never wrote about the Second Age. Right, okay. Anyway, more hubris. We worked in conjunction with world-renowned Tolkien scholars and the Tolkien estate to make sure that the ways we connected the dots were Tolkienian and gelled with the experts and the estate's understanding of the material. However, the production canned Tolkien scholar Tom Shippey. He was just binned off. It's unclear why he was canned. Vanity Fair suggested it was over a NDA breach, claiming he gave an apparently unsanctioned interview to a German fan site that July. I remember that interview, and it wasn't that good. Opining on what the show could and could not explore. Not long after that, Shippey was no longer involved in the series, because I remember covering that before. Who knows if that theory is true, but canning a prominent Tolkien scholar and then touting that you worked with them to justify your egregious contradictions from Tolkien's lore is despicable. Yeah, it completely is. So there you go, ladies and gents. I mean, more just what? Just showing themselves up to be more foolish than we thought before. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Cheers, guys. Take care.